Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Bluedragonfive here,
and Rohith Dhar.
and we're back. We're rounding out Creature Commandos. Season 1 has been approved for a Season 2. We learned that over the holidays. So we've reached the end of a very short Season 1. Well, comparatively short. I think we're all expecting an 8. We got a 7. So let's split the difference. Let's talk about it early. So a very funny monster. The season finale, which the per the pattern of the show, we've kind of tracked after episode 1. We've kind of tracked the backstory of each of our commandos or each of our creatures, and we ended essentially on the parody of the creature from the Black Lagoon in Nina Mazursky. That is our final creature. So Rohit. So I mean, what do you think?
Of this episode or the season overall?
I guess both.
I think this episode, in terms of the flashbacks for Nina Mazursky, is really well done. There, as always, James Gunn does a masterful job of taking characters that, while monstrous on the outside, are, if not completely human, have some level of sympathy or emotionality to them. And Nina Mazursky's, flashbacks, the way they're written, the way they're acted, it's really well done. In terms of sort of the main plot, the present plot, it wraps up in a way that's seems sort of convoluted, and I feel like maybe if I were to watch the full season, all 7 episodes, I might feel that things were planted and seeded in such a way that it could, resolve in a much more cleaner manner. Because I think, the fact that the princess just tried to, when there's the footage of Clayface and the princess, it was done in a way to tip off, Waller and Flag to think that Cersei's wrong and all that and all this stuff, and it's there's a lot of assumptions and a lot of things like it's sort of how some people have criticisms of the Joker's plan in the Dark Knight and criticisms of Baron Zeva's plan in Civil War, where it's you have to assume the right people have to be the right time at the right place, and I feel like it's something where you don't think too much about it. The plan makes some sort of sense. I think the actual resolution in terms of the bride's character works really well. And I'm hoping the second season, it's, if not relatively straightforward, I hope sort of the plot, twists and turns, if there's a bigger episode count or if each episode is longer, you can have time to tease out and play out sort of the machinations a little further. I think with a 7-episode structure that's half an hour each, I think James Gunn was kind of packing a little bit too much into the overall structure. And maybe if he had more episodes, or if each episode was 10 or 20 minutes longer, those things could have had time to play out more. And thus, I think ultimately with the way things end off, it's fine. It's good. I think it could have been better in terms of the whole princess thing. And there's just certain things that kind of are left off to a side without any further resolution or point. And with the season 2, maybe those things will just be dealt with later on. But I think sort of the first season, it's a good season. I don't think it's the best of Gunn's work, but I don't think it's bad overall. I think it's just Gunn's sort of first time working in a particularly new medium, like animated television, and hoping in season 2 or onwards, or if Gunn does other animated television, he has more opportunity to really get the nuances or crack the code. I think he knows how to write a film script. He knows how to write a TV script, live action TV. But I don't think he necessarily had nailed the formula on animated television, especially with the runtime and the amount of episodes per season.
Yeah, per James Gunn, he saved the most tragic for last.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the episode. I'm kind of blown away by the show. I mean, look, I think I like how we tied everything up. I really do. Now, mind you, yeah, you're right. There are a few hanging chads, but again, season two, so not really bothered by it. I have faith that he knows what he's doing. But you're right. There might be some growing pains for James Gunn. We've seen him kind of broach television with Peacemaker, and this is kind of condensing kind of what he learned there. Well, yes, he's worked in games before, but not animation. Anyway. So, point being, kind of economizing then to animation in the short form. That's kind of interesting. So, maybe some growing pains there because I don't know. I think I still love how kind of condensed and kind of like how he's. Sorry, not. I don't mean to use condensed the second time there, but I like how. I don't know. I like how kind of how much material we have in the episodes. I think how dense the material is.
Yeah, I think I think the flashbacks are where you can feel the level of density in terms of the world building and establishing sort of the interior lives of the characters. I think for the main plot, it's not necessarily dense. It's just more like we're not given much opportunity to like feel out the machinations or have a really strong sense of like because Rick Flag is really the only character who's trying to figure out like what's the long game of it. But then Rick Flag, when he figures out what's going on or thinks he figures out what's going on, he doesn't get to share that information with the Creature Commandos. So it feels like the main plot of like, or at least what I think is one of the main plot was just all right, we're trying to save the world, but nobody's really trying to figure out A, why did she want to take over the world? B, how did she do that? How does it go out? It's like we have this sort of prophetic vision, and then we don't really see like, oh, could the Creature Commander's actions lead to that apocalyptic vision or something like that? And that's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, is someone else going to take that apocalyptic vision in season 2? Is that going to be touched? Like, that's the thing. It's like, I'm really wondering how much of a continuation season 2 is from season 1 versus it being somewhat of like a fresh start with the new roster. I know there's some follow throughs with the Bride, GI Robot, Weasel, and Phosphorus, but like, is Rick Flag going to be season 2?
Yeah.
I didn't get a clear idea if that was the case because
I mean, he's alive. He's in the hospital.
No, but like, will he be one of the regulars on the Creature Commandos? Because it seemed like the overall arc of the show was Rick Flag was lead the Creature Commandos, but then it led to we only led them for like one excursion, one mission, and then it transitioned to the Bride being the leader.
I guess. Okay, here's the thing. That actually might track because looking at the very the few glimpses we've had of like Peacemaker and Superman just in still form, it looks like he'll be busy doing other things and assumingly being promoted to Argus or however that's going to work. So yeah, you're right. It might just be a one done for him, and then he'll be going off to other things. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, it's like Rick Flag was the one that's kind of driving the action, and the things we didn't really get a resolution of him like stopping the Commandos. Like, I don't think the Commandos even know that he's like in. Like, they don't know. It's like it just felt like the two stories with like Rick and Eric trying to like prevent the assassination, and then the Creature Commandos trying to do the assassination. It just felt kind of like split. Like, there was no, I mean, the only intersection, like, I don't know if there was like a humorous version with Eric getting shot down, but then they just went about their mission. It almost feel like if Rick and Eric didn't find out about the Clayface thing, but still just went along, I feel like similar events could have happened. It may not be exactly 1-to-1, but it feels like it wasn't inconsequential, but it feels like the machinations were just. It felt like more Gunn was like, okay, I want to have sort of the double twist where the princess was evil and she was trying to make the make the Commandos think that.
Well, remember, Rick Flag's actions in finding that out did get a member of the team killed.
Yes,
So I'm
but
saying it wasn't inconsequential. I mean,
but the thing,
these events that led to
it wasn't consequential, but that particular like circumstance. The thing is that you could have had Nina die without necessarily Rick telling Amanda about what happened, right? Because there's also Weasel, who was also concerned with the prince's well-being, and you could have had it where Weasel maybe came out, and then when the princess became aware, then she kind of had a sense of like Nina Mazursky down the water, and then like would attack her right there and then. That's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, yes, like Rick Flag's actions did lead to the death of Nina Mazursky, but it wasn't like that was the only way Nina Mazursky's death could have been written to occur. And that's where I feel like yeah, his actions did lead to the death of a teammate, but it's not like that was the only path to cause Nina Mazursky's death. Is what I'm saying. Like, because Weasel was also concerned for the prince's well-being. I feel like if no one else was concerned about the prince's well-being, like actively, then I think there would have been more of a case for like Rick Flag's actions. The fact you had Rick and the Weasel having some feelings, about the princess to a certain degree, like it could. I don't know if James Gunn necessarily made much of an effort to make Rick Flag that essential. Like, that's the thing that's kind of not my issue, but it's just more like it like this is a show where like it's based on like, oh, this is a group of characters that will likely go on a journey together, but then after the first few episodes they're kind of split apart. And
well, I mean that does feel maybe like kind of an arc kind of cross with a subversion there, where it's basically Rick Flag, it's kind of in the familiar territory. We start in kind of the Suicide Squad kind of vein, and what better way to start that off than with a Rick Flag?
Yeah.
And then we kind of take him out of the equation. Then we shift the focus to essentially our squad, essentially to kind of our commandos, and in going from there, that's what I'm saying. It kind of becomes something else, though, and that was kind of our in, and then we kind of made its own thing. And it's really about that each episode kind of incrementally kind of gets you more like, okay, this is more just kind of the tragedy of these monsters in this kind of this really unusual circumstance, and at the end of the day, will they do something potentially monstrous that'll have consequences, or like what's the decision going to be, like who's the real monster kind
sure.
of.
I get that.
Which fits into the overall kind of framework of this whole gods and monsters thing,
No, I get that. It's just more like because of the episode length and runtime, like a lot of a certain episodes are dedicated to flashbacks, so it just feels like the main plot just doesn't have as much development.
Well, does it need the development though?
I don't think it needs to be. Maybe development's not the right word. I feel like if you could have petered out and have some level of understanding of how the princess could likely become the like monster that she is in this prophetic vision, that's the thing. It's like, okay, you see this vision, like there's so many questions I have, and then in light of how the season ends, here's sort of my big question. It's like, okay, they assassinated the princess, or the bride assassinated the princess. There's no geopolitical ramifications. If they are, they're just not shown in like a newsreel or whatever. Like, that's got to be a big deal. And it's weird that Amanda Waller.
Well, honestly, Rohit, that's the thing. It's kind of not a big deal. Amanda Waller was willing to, we'll kill the problem and then we'll leave, and it'll just be like an average international incident, which she was prepared to do. So there wasn't, again, like Amanda Waller, for example, like at the end of all this, she's not worried about the the geopolitical kind of ramifications, because hey, we prevented World War III by taking her out, so we're good. And like she'll darn the paperwork, it's like I mean, darn the consequences, darn the paperwork. We stopped World War III, and what's Pakistan going to do? Their leadership's in shambles right now. So that's kind of I think that's okay, just based on kind of like how that we don't see kind of the aftermath there, because
but like Amanda Waller was still, to that very moment when she radioed in, it's like she said she still thought the princess was innocent.
Yeah, well, clearly the monsters like looped her in and everything, but after that happened.
No, that's why when people ask us like, oh, how does Amanda Waller not get mad at the bride for killing? It's like, well, obviously there's the security footage.
Yeah,
you could imply no, but what I'm thinking is just more like this, like the way that the the way the show is kind of pitched, or when we have sort of the world building about Kolistan and everything, it's like, okay, this one tiny nation somehow becomes like powerful enough to ally with Gorilla Grodd and take over the world. And it would have been interesting to see how it gets there, and maybe it could have been cool for like the Creature Commandos through their actions causing that, getting us close to that apocalyptic vision, just like how for the Umbrella Academy, like you see a vision of the future, and you kind of by trying to prevent it, you cause it to get closer. But it didn't seem like if even though it didn't go that way, it didn't feel like it didn't go that way because James Gunn was trying to subvert my expectations. I just feel like he just wanted to have a very specific endpoint for the story, which is the bride kills the princess, and she becomes sort of the dirty, dozen character, the military leader that's willing to make the tough choices. And I just feel like James Gunn didn't do the best or most effort to like get to that point. I feel like the way the story, like the bride killing the princess was cool, but how we got there was not the most straightforward or clear. I don't know. Like, I don't know the overall resolution is like that satisfactory.
Okay. Well, we'll circle back to that one. Let's talk about Nina.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's really great in the kind of structure of Nina's story is how we kind of foreshadow kind of the start and end of her. I know it's it's very kind of on its face, like that's what happens, but I just really like that the whole episode is structured to with the origin thing in mind. We see literally the origins. We see kind of her life play out.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, while we're doing this, and while we see like kind of like the tragedy there, we have the tragedy of then with the tragedy of now. So it's like the beginning of her life, end of her life, and that's kind of I thought that was really good structurally. Big standout for me in this episode. I loved everything we did, the performance, and the execution of Dr. Ed Mazursky, her father, played by the wonderful Greg Henry, who was Jason Quill in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. That's Peter Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did an amazing job in this voice work wise. I thought he was wonderful. He had a very layered character. I love the subtleties. I just love everything, the writing of the Mazursky family here. Just the tragedy of this this baby born with a lung defect.
I really appreciate when the camera pans like to like the wife's reaction.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like is she just born like a sea creature? But no, she just has a specific birth defect. Having her lungs out, and
I was really impressed by that, by the way, because you and I were both expecting, okay, she's born a maybe like a mutation or something, or she's born a fish girl, but like no, we kind of got her to that point. Just the fact I love the unconventional route at which we kind of ended up to the fish girl.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, that was really good.
And you really feel for Nina's dad when the mother leaves.
That was the most, to me, there's so many heartbreaking scenes in this episode, but I gotta be honest, that might have been it for me. That was like, here's the thing, what I love in the performance of Dr. Mazursky is that the way Greg Henry's playing this is he's delusional yet optimistic. He's kind of a delusional optimist to an extent here, where he's truly a loving father, who did everything a father could do for their kid, and he cares. He's a good man, fundamentally. We saw that, like Nina, given her positive outlook on life, she came from good stock, and I think that counts for something. And but there's something also just a hair disquieting about it, where it's like, oh my God, your baby has this lung defect, and he's kind of he's thinking of his child very lovingly, and he's saying, we'll call her Nina. And there's like moments like that with him. And, he builds like the portable iron lung on the girl. And eventually, he's splicing the amphibious DNA. And it was, anyway, what I'm getting at is like, we have this very realistic, messy, kind of conversation between the parents. The saddest part is Nina's mother leaving them during this real argument of like, we made a mistake. She's on these machines that we're going to have to keep, building and rebuilding, and just kind of we're going from one problem to what the heck are we going to do problem next, and so on as she grows up through life. And this might be borderline really cruel. This might be child cruelty by some measure, and the father's, like, she doesn't look at me because you don't look at her. Because she sees the horror in the eyes, man. Like, you're not acknowledging. It's kind of like some people have made like the postpartum, comparison. It's definitely possible there. It's definitely some
Yeah.
of that
But,
factored in there.
but
But it's
there,
also like there's a lot of psychological ramifications too.
yeah, but there's also the kind of thing. It's like you wonder for that particular conversation if that mirrors to a certain extent certain like really hard conversations that parents have when
Mm-hmm.
their child is born with a certain specific genetic disorder or
Uh-huh.
condition that requires round the clock care, and ultimately they're going to be getting the round the clock care for the rest of their lives, and it's like I get
Some people aren't as lucky to have like a doctor with seemingly like good access to medical grade technologies and stuff. That this some of them have to make really hard choices. Like, are we going to be able to afford this? Are we going to be able to like support this
well,
child?
even beyond just the cost, it's like if Dr. Mazursky didn't change his daughter into an amphibious creature, would she just been? She wouldn't really been able to be able to make friends or even socialize or do anything. She would just kind of be, barely keeping up with like kids her age with that iron lug, portable iron lug. And
Yeah.
so at a certain point, it's like
Did
she
you
would
did
have.
it show you just how sad that iron lung was? Because like the kids, like with the lung condition, she's breathing really. It looks like she's exhausted, just taking 5 steps.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the thing though. It is a hard conversation. I think he represented just the messiness there. And like the mother's not a bad guy for feeling this way, but I mean it's not great what she does, but you get it though. You get the whole thing of like putting yourself in the mother's shoes, like, oh my god, I've ruined my kid's life, and I brought this life into this world, and again, it's kind of like in looking at what Gunn's doing with the whole monster phase. It's like kind of a mother looking at her own kid as kind of a monster, but a pitiable monster, one could say. Which again,
Yeah.
we evaluate. We just I bring this up because we keep reevaluating kind of like our monsters throughout the show and like how we
Mhm.
deem the term monster, and also like going with this Amanda Waller show like that's coming down the pipeline. Kind of monster in another sense, where it's monsters in various conventions of the phrase.
Yeah, and what's really sad about it is that like Nina saw her dad die and was traumatized by all of it. Will the mother ever know that her daughter died, trying to kill someone that was actually going to cause World War III?
No, she'll never find out.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if she has like a new I wouldn't be surprised if somehow the bride, whoever, tried to like let the mother know, and she has like a new family, like the Billy's mom and Shazam,
Oh God, yeah.
and they're all healthy
Wait a
kids.
minute, she didn't have. I don't think she had another family. I think she just like. Did she?
No, no, she left. She
Well,
left.
I know she left. I don't think Billy's mom had another family though.
No, no, no. Well, she had like a husband.
Oh right, yeah, you're right. She did.
Yeah, because because Billy knocks on the door and he's like hearing like a guy's voice and Millie's mom's there. So it's like even if it's like a couple, even if it's like a partner or a family or whatever, it's like the fact that like she's moved on for all intents and purposes.
Well,
And that,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, the so yeah, just this we just see Nina's has had this utterly tortured life up until the very end, and what's impressive though is again, like the bride says, like not a malicious like essentially not a malicious bone in her body, or like not a like a bad no bad blood like through her pumping through her veins, like just she was a very pure through life, like just a very nice person who didn't deserve any of the horrible stuff that was inflicted upon her in life.
Her and Weasel.
Yeah.
Well, I guess like with Fiesel's condition, it's like he could have been Pharaoh and like committed violence against someone else that we don't know of, but at least for the kids thing, he was innocent.
Yeah.
For Nina, she just was like hanging out in the water in sort of the water tunnels of Star City and just ate a fish, and that was it. She didn't like harm anyone. She didn't do anything. Like Weasel, I could imagine going feral and harming someone, but Nina was just like her full sentient self in a amphibious body, or
So with the high school thing, with Dr. Mazursky, this is what fascinates me about the character is that this guy, he's homeschooled her, through probably grade kind of grade school through middle school, I'd imagine, and she's just the fact that he did that, and you have to imagine in part for a reason, but there was a concern for her, like maybe to kind of get her out there because half the reason he did the thing is so she could interact, so she could have a semblance of a normal life, and he's trying to help her out in that regard. But by the same token, though, it's like he has to know. But again, it's like that blinding optimism that like this will go well. He's like he's kind of, but it's like the curse of the life with the Mazursky family is that he's doing really proactive, really good fatherly things. By the same token, though, he's kind of ignoring the harsh realities of the situation, which in turn does damage to the child. But again, you can't fault him for it because he's doing this from a very loving place, and again he's still very supportive of her.
Yeah,
I'm sure she's like not telling him all the horrible stuff that's happening too. I'm sure.
It is considerate,
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that like he tried to have her be cool to socialize, like his heart's in the right place, and it's just like it just really sucked that she didn't have really. This is the thing where it's like, okay, do you not have anyone to like guide her or help or try to like advocate on her behalf in the school? She just got left to the wolves, right? She has to face the whole ribbit thing.
Yeah, and the look. Oh, how horrible is that girls lacrosse match where like it's like, hey, what's that game? And then just like bam, take that, you effing frog.
Yeah, I was worried that when she was playing across, like, oh god, is her helmet gonna like break or shatter? Right? Because it's like how like durable is that?
I know. I was thinking the same thing, but I guess it's pretty. I guess it's overall it's pretty durable. And we saw it smash in like the at the end of the second episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or yes, and for me, it's just like in a world established with many humans, it's like you would think there would be someone there to like explain to like classmates or just. I guess is the thing.
I mean, maybe there was that. At least I think maybe it was like an attempt at it. Because by the way, I really liked it. I like that principal was really nice too in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like she wasn't like expressing reservations or anything. She was like, like okay, sure. He was hearing the child's a little different and just kind of like asking her what she thought about the matter. So I'm sure like there was like an attempt at advocacy. We're like, hey, this is Nina, and she has this helmet that helps her breathe. So it's all be really nice to her, and that's probably as far as it went. And I think maybe it's reliant on me. Nina has to say something, but she doesn't want to do that. So,
and the thing is like when Nina leaves, after she's just done with the amount of bullying she's experienced, it's like Nina's what, like probably 17, 18?
I mean, I guess at youngest she's like what is it? Wouldn't it be like 16 or like that's what I'm saying? She's somewhere between 16 and 17, I guess.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder like how long is she out in the world until she gets caught and her dad like tries to intervene.
I imagine because her father, when we see him later in the reading, I think his hair is maybe a little grayer or something. Like the hair looks a little different, so I think it's probably been.
I thought
maybe maybe like 3 to 5 years would be my guess. Probably at least a couple of years have passed.
It didn't seem that much time has passed. If anything, I felt like
Nina's like in her 20s. I want to say Nina in Creature Commandos is like in her 20s. So I'm saying like maybe some amount of time has passed, like high school age and a college age. I think that's probably as much as.
But think of it this way: it's like she's the most innocent and she's the youngest person on the team.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And she had her life taken away before she really had a chance to like, she just made one friend or two, or three.
Well, here's the thing. She was friendly with all the. She was friendly. Look, dude, Phosphorus a little up in the air. She was friends with everyone on the team.
No. But what I'm saying, I'm just saying,
you know what? Actually, I'm going to take that back. She was friends with everyone on the team because there's a moment with Phosphorus I want to talk about later in the episode. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. The thing is like she's been pretty like she's a friendly person, but she's never had the opportunity to make really true friends until she's with other monsters. And it just feels like, man, if she was just like in a city that had like active meta-human superheroes like Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, like this girl needed like the protection of the Justice League or like some superhero team because God
And Aquaman really could have stuck up for the girl. He really should have.
Honestly, she could have been better served if she just lived in Atlantis. You know.
Well, yeah. I think you have to question though how. I mean, right now we're like status quo wise. This is where we get into the messy territory. Where it's a question of, how we've seen Themyscira is kind of like just going public, or to some degree.
It's known, but not really widely known.
Exactly, it's known, but like we don't have like any ladies actually going to Themyscira quite yet. Like it's known. It's still kind of like it's more like kind of like rumored, and people have heard about it, and people are having political opinions about it.
Yeah.
But we haven't really gone there. And on the flip side, there does question like, is Atlantis in kind of a similar boat? But then we have to factor in, the carryover factor with, with Peacemaker, because Aquaman does show up in that. Now, mind you, I know we're probably going to end up with a thing where, okay, if Aquaman were to show up again, he likely would not be Jason Momoa. But the fact is, we have acknowledged, Peacemaker's constantly joke that Aquaman does unseemly things, very boys-like things with fish. But it does, does make you wonder though. Like, okay, so Atlantis would have to exist to at least make all these Aquaman jokes, and Aquaman's a thing. So, but I don't know. There's a question: how much do we recontextualize that?
Because the thing is, like, take for example, like Wonder Woman's referenced a lot in Peacemaker, or she's referenced in Peacemaker.
Yeah.
And if Peacemaker's loosely canon with the DCU,
it is,
and with how people don't really know much of Themyscira. By the same token, it could be the case that like Aquaman's like a known superhero, but like Atlantis is probably something that's not widely known.
I mean, even going by the look, just again, I know we're playing fast and loose with this at this moment, but really, honestly, Rohith, it feels like until we get Peacemaker season 2, we really won't have a really good beeline. Okay, what exactly carried over until then? But let's just say, for argument's sake, even going by the second Aquaman movie, Atlantis is we're still trying to find Atlantis, and we're kind of like looking into it, and it's kind of acknowledged, but we haven't really gone there. But we have Aquaman kind of as the ambassador. So Atlantis is in conversation, but again, we can't really go by that because we're really only going by whatever James Gunn has approved there.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, all we know is there's an Aquaman, which it seems like, okay, there's Aquaman, probably a mention of like, hey, Aquaman, where'd you come from? Atlantis. Okay, we probably don't know anything about Atlantis, or if it's like, could we go to Atlantis? Like, is how friendly is Aquaman to invite all the sea creatures to Atlantis? Then again, think about this. We confirmed it even in this episode. There was a King Shark. King Shark, Atlantis.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, it's like how much of like there are people who come from Atlantis, but like Atlantis itself, something that's like A, widely known, B, something that like people from that area come out and just like take people who maybe could fit in that society.
No one knows where Atlantis is except Aquaman. I think we can probably go as far as to say that maybe King Shark. King Shark's not really in a sharing mood until the end of the episode.
King Shark's answer: water.
Exactly.
but yeah, no, I think it's cool to see that Nina Mazursky is a Star City resident.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, because it just spells out the world. I'm just like, okay, is Green Arrow operating at this time, or
probably? I mean, that's the only thing Star City has going on. That's Green Arrow's too.
Well, no, because Green Arrow is also referenced in Peacemaker season. Yeah. So it's like, if Peacemaker season was loosely canon with the rest of the DCU, we have already Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Green Arrow,
and the Flash.
But
again, James Gunn's he's keeping his distance from the Flash because of that movie. But yeah. Still, hashtag Anthony Starr's Reverse Flash. Let's make it happen, people.
I think Anthony Starr is probably done with superhero stuff after The Boys.
Yeah, I know, but wouldn't it be cool though?
I mean, it'd be kind of like typecasting, right? It's the equivalent of fan casting Bryan Cranston as either Lex Luthor or James Gordon. Jim Gordon, he'd be good for both parts, but like it's just that's kind of the obvious, I feel like James Gunn and the crew is probably gonna get someone that like.
The universe doesn't like me enough to make Bryan Cranston Jim Gordon in live action because that would make me too happy. Okay, because that's just not going to happen.
Honestly, though, Kurt Russell for Jim Gordon would be dope.
Oh yeah, that'd be great, but I'm just that's what I'm saying though. Like, that's not going to happen either.
You never know. It could happen. I think the Kurt Russell's like doing stuff nowadays. He's good friends with Jim. He's been in James Gunn movie. He liked it could show up.
Yeah, but I don't know if he would take Jim Gordon. I mean, I'd be down. I'd love it if he played Jim Gordon again. Still, Cranston though. Cranston would be the peak though. But either way, no one's gonna talk. Cranston's been offered Gordon. He's turned it down, so he's never gonna do it.
Bryan Cranston will play. Who would be a fun character?
I was saying Cranston has said people keep offering villains. He keeps saying like he only wants to play. He wants to play a character that has not been played before. That's kind of in his. That's at least what he said about the matter. Whether he's going to stick to that,
Bryan
Cranston. His big thing was Mr. Sinister.
Honestly, Bryan Cranston as Martian Manhunter would be interesting.
I'd love that, but he has been played technically.
Well, is it? I thought his thing was like not played in live action before.
Because no, Martian Manhunter's been in live action technically.
I guess like in my mind, it's like
I don't know how firmly he's going to stick to that statement, mind you. But assuming he does, Martian Manhunter has been played. There are Martian Manhunter plans though, so he could.
I was gonna say Red Tornado, but like he's already been in live action, so it's like, what DC character hasn't been portrayed in live action, either in film or TV? That's the thing that's hard about it, especially the Arrowverse is kind of like there's slim pickings for Bryan Cranston. I'll be honest.
Well, here's one for you. Bryan Cranston is the question.
Well, the question is, I would prefer the question to be like,
think about it. You got such a recognizable face, but we hide it.
Well, I would rather not him play the question, but I would rather him play like his friend Todd. Aristotle Todd. He's this professor that like creates the compounder mask thing for Big Saz. So
yeah. Okay. Anyway, so what was I going to bring up before we kind of get on the casting tangent there? Anyway, okay, so okay, well, I guess let's cover some other ground before we get to the kind of the end of the Nina flashback there. So Eric Frankenstein, I love him monologuing to the poor cab driver. Just him monologuing about like the screwball rom-com that he's basically decided the whole season is, and.
Yeah, David Harbour as Eric Frankenstein is like, okay, like he's played like Red Guardian, Hellboy, and Sheriff Hopper. I kind of believe was before. So this was just a different energy, and I was like, oh, like David Harbour is like one of the best casting choices of this show. The way he plays it, there's like he's very much doing like the classic. Frankenstein's monster from Mary Shelley's book, but there's this kind of like kooky, like fish out of water comedic energy to him, and when he does his monologue, it's funny, but there's a level of like menace to his voice because usually David Harbour is kind of typecast or plays his energy as like big and broad and loud. But this is just slow, steady, and just there's an ominous nature to it, which I really appreciate. And walking that tightrope was like props to James Gunn, who to me did the voice direction for Dave, or Dave Harbour did a lot of it. It's like that I think is a character that he is both fascinating, funny, and monstrous all in the same scene. And I was really surprised that he didn't get to be forced or be part of the squad with Creature Commandos, and I really wonder, will he show up in season 2 capacity, or that's the thing. It's like the two big question marks for me is like, is either Rick Flag or Eric Frankenstein going to be in season 2? Because if they are, or like that'd be great. Because they're not, it's like their interactions with each other and their interactions with other characters are great, and The Bride is good.
You know there's got to be a gag where Eric Frankenstein has like a bouquet of flowers and he's in the hospital room, like visiting his best friend.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, seriously, I love that he's in the cab and he's like going. My favorite line that he has is like, my best friend Rick Flag. I call him Rick.
Ricky, Rickster, and it makes up like a bunch of nicknames. I'm very curious though. It's like, I guess not to jump too ahead to discussion season 2. If Rick Flag were to come into the picture again, like, would it be because things got screwed up for the Bride and a few of the missions, and then Rick Flag comes in to like handle shop, or that is unclear to me. Because I think what was interesting in this, for me, I have to say this overall season felt like the trilogy, the Guardians trilogy, where like it starts out with Peter Quill as the leader, and then transitions to Rocket being the leader, and in the course of this one season transitions from Rick Flag, the human, being the leader, to the Bride being the leader, the monster herself.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's sort of reiterating this sort of idea about this badly wounded monster who has some level of humanity, and then over the course of the season gains some great appreciation over her fellow like teammates or whatever, and take a command. But for the Guardians trilogy, there was more of a direct interactions with Star-Lord and Rocket about their dynamics and all that stuff, and they have a relationship that led to then the transition from Peter to Raccoon to be such an earned, strong moment. But for the Bride and Rick, they don't really have much of a relationship after the first few episodes, and the Bride is just kind of off, like doing her own, like doing the mission with like Phosphorus and all that stuff. And I just kind of wish the season had more of the group together to get like a sense of dynamics. Like Rick, I get his dynamics with Phosphorus and the Bride, but not with, say, GI Robot, because he didn't last that long, or Nina Mazursky and the Weasel. And I think it would have been interesting to see, like, hey, like, how does this human try to see these monsters really be more compassionate, more like humane than the actual human?
It
And
would be
maybe
right to say you really enjoyed Rick Flag and you want him to stay in the picture longer to see how he would continue to play off the monsters and kind of being the party to their arcs. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I think back to like this first, like James Gunn's Suicide Squad, there was like James Gunn had a lot of mileage out of Rick Flag, even though he wasn't like a big part. He still had like an arc, or maybe not an arc, but like had a certain purpose to his story and agency and all that stuff. And his actions led to sort of the big climax of the story. And I feel like Rick Flag, like I wish he was in the thick of it. And I feel like it would have been so interesting because we had flashbacks. We fleshed out all these other monsters, but you usually fleshed out Rick Flag beyond just that one conversation. And I think it would have been interesting for him, maybe out of the team, like he's actually the most monstrous of the team, but he just has this kind of like laid back, cool guy demeanor that hides a really strong sense of darkness. And thus that makes him contrast really heavily from his son, Rick Flag Jr., who's a really moral, upstanding soldier.
It's interesting for sure. Now, let's see. Speaking of Rick Flag, let's talk about his bestie. So, again, Eric Frankenstein. He shows up. He instantly botches everything. He gets yeah, he gets shot to near death. Just says 3 words. My bride. Well, I guess 4 words. 4 words. My bride, the princess, and then bang, 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 bang. So it was definitely a misdirect there.
Yeah, no, it was funny that moment. And it would have been, it would have been interesting for the other teammates to ask questions about the Bride as they're going along, and then she would have been just annoyed by the amount of questions they're asking, especially like Phosphorus.
Calls it Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really appreciated for the respective universes. The other side is like a fictional comic book company or
that's kind of what they've done in universe for both of them. Even in the Arrowverse, they would reference the Marvel stuff, and then of course we see with the Eternals. The one big takeaway from the Eternals is like, hey, well, actually, the Eternals and Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. We mentioned the other side. as a fictional property.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So again, Frank's seemingly going to save the day, or at least kind of like conveyed the message. Terrible messenger. Gets full of holes, and later on we're going to have meet. Eating soup with an old lady in a castle.
Yep. Sparrow
Yep.
droppings.
Yep. He's eating crap. So, meanwhile, Rick Flags again. Rick Flag. He again in fewer words. He, Mac isn't Mac. And Amanda Waller gets it. Amanda Waller's great at. I imagine she'd be great at charades.
Oh my, yeah.
She might. I mean, I don't know. She seems pretty intuitive. Like very little information here. Mac isn't Mac. It's like, and she gets it. I like that though. I like that she's intuitive. I buy that Amanda Waller would actually be able to decipher that with the whole Rick Flag, the way he talks, he would say Mac instead of McPherson, knowing he's got very few words.
Mm-hmm.
And she learns the truth. There's a panic to stop World War III, which then ties into our assassination plot. So here's the one thing that bothered me with the assassination plot, really, just to show you where my mind is. I just feel, I mean, look, it just feels really random and only convenient for kind of our nod to the creature from the Black Lagoon with the whole the beautiful girl in the water and underneath is the monster, kind of a nod there, which I really like the nods to classic horror like we had with the Frankenstein episode we had here. Mm-hmm. This kind of stuff is great, but still it does feel it feels like a really random, convenient kind of pull. Just like, okay, so the princess, she's going for a morning swim in kind of this it's this little lake. Doesn't even look like a great lake. You can imagine, she might have like an actual pool, but no, just going to a lake.
Hey, it's the Eastern European country. They're not Western Europe rich.
I guess. Anyway, so the point being, the princess, she goes for a morning swim for her people, which is a big buy. Like, well, it's just us guards. Now you have to impart. Now this is the thing, Rohit. You got to wonder. Is that intentional? Is she doing this in the hopes that something's going to happen? Because it just feels like in that moment, like something's off with her. Like, why would she just be swimming like this for the guards?
Yeah, because it's like,
It's like, I'm doing it for my people. You see what I mean? Though it feels like there's a little more there. Like, plus, think about this: when we have the big death scene,
mm-hmm.
there's this little effect that we do. With I think it's like an aesthetic thing, but still, even aesthetic or no, it just feels like a deliberate choice. We see the blue of Nina's eyes, and we see the piercing blue of the princess. Now, I think on its face, it's like, okay, it's to suggest, in retrospect, there's something sinister there. But what's something sinister there? It does make you wonder, like, what's going on there?
Well, here's sort of my to apply Occam's razor. It could just be the case that like the princess is just a narcissist and she just wants to go out to swim, and she's like, oh, it's for the people, but it's really for herself. Just like in certain maybe other stories, a leader that should be like, doing stuff publicly for the people or working at their job is like going out to golf or to like drink and come forward with prostitutes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And they say, oh, it's what's best for the leader is best for the country. So I think that was less about, oh, she's trying to like get the assassins out or whatever. I think it's more just the fact that like she really is like just a deep narcissist, someone who doesn't really have personal care for her people, but just cares about herself.
Because initially when she walked out, the first time I saw her, I was thinking, man, has she now like changed out of that? It feels like, I know we saw her like one time she was, I think, dressed in like the usual princess garb. She's just like two outfits in the whole shoot. She got the princess garb and she's got the nightwear. Now the swimwear, but let's put that to the side for a moment. So it's just the fact that it really just feels like, man, she hasn't gotten out of her PJs the whole like the whole season practically. And it was like, okay, no, it's just similar. It's like we're sending a message with the princess. Yes, we know she's very attractive and possibly James Gunn putting Jennifer Holland in there. We get it,
Hey. We don't have necessarily specific proof of that, but
I know we don't have specific proof of it. Look at her; she's a knockout. She has the same haircut.
She doesn't have the same eye color. I think Jennifer Holland has brown eyes.
Okay, fair point. But honestly, yeah, I guess. Oh, yeah, you're right. She has had blue eyes. For a moment, I was wondering, wait, did the eye color shift in the show? But no, it didn't. Yeah, you're right. Well, then again, if you look at James Gunn's Rick Flag, though, I think, come on, there's some differences there too in physique. But you know,
Well, wait. Actually, hold on. I think she might have blue eyes.
no, I think it's blue. I think you're right. I think it's blue eyes.
No, her eyes are green. She has green eyes.
You mean okay? So Jennifer Holland has green eyes, is what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a little shade.
I mean, I think if I were to make a defense of James Gunn's design or the show's design of Rick Flag Senior,
Look, it's okay. It's his business. If he wants to parallel some stuff there.
I mean, how else do you have a guy that looks old enough to be Joel Kinnaman's dad of like 18 years? Right? It's like you got to give him like gray or white hair. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. No, that's the thing, Rohith. That's the thing. It's not gray. It's white.
I mean, okay. I don't know. If it was gray, you think people would have made the same comparisons to James Gunn's?
No, I don't think they would. If it was gray, I don't think people. Okay, like let me put this. I don't think a reasonable person would make. I think just people would just like, we want to pile on James Gunn.
I will say though, it was interesting that when there was the original concept art for the characters, like Rick Flag Senior was just like black on the top with like some white temples and like a white beard or whatever. It looked kind of closer more to Frank Grillo, whereas Joe, and now in like Superman and Peacemaker, he doesn't look like his character, and it's just like, okay, like you could. I don't know why you just changed his design, because he changed his design. It just looks more like, yeah, it's. He's the boss. He's the boss. So
look, I'm not bringing it up as a criticism. I'm just saying that it's kind of funny to me, and just I don't know.
Honestly, if I were one of troll fans of James Gunn, I would dress up as Rick Flag Senior for Halloween or San Diego Comic Con. I have Jennifer Holland show up in the princess stuff.
Oh God,
lead into it. Just have some have a troll or two.
Yep. All right, anyway. So, but my point being, though, doesn't it feel just a little like easy that okay, so with Nina being the one who's gonna have to do it, we're gonna have to put her in the water. So it's like I'm going for a swim, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the fact that it's like a landlocked.
It's like in that moment, she feels like the parody that Tiki and I always do of Elektra. It just feels a little bit, just like the narcissistic kind of like, like the pretty narcissist kind of thing.
Hey, you know what they say about blondes?
Well, they do have more fun.
For a while.
Well, yeah.
Until they get shot down, they get shot in the head by a reanimated corpse, essentially.
Yep. Well, you know what they say, always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Yep.
Okay.
Bridesmaid of Frankenstein, it would be an interesting character to be made and show up, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about sort of the whole
the plot.
Yeah.
Okay, so the point being, the princess, she's going for a random dip, and they realize, again, I called this, by the way. I'm proud of this.
No, I'll eat my humble pie. This has happened in 6 episodes, but especially in this episode. It's like, oh man, dragons, right? Donna's theory.
I kept telling Tiki, and Tiki made it sound like I was a crazy person for like, come on, no, it's not. It's gonna defeat the purpose of the character. It's like, no, come on, why? It's gonna have depth to it, and it did. Weasel thinks of her as the little girl he couldn't save. I called that design was too similar not to be.
Because the little girl had blonde hair, blue eyes. That's what made Weasel cost Nina her life. Had that little kid or the princess had different hair colors, Nina would have been alive. I guess right. Weasel needs to be punished for killing Nina Mazursky.
Well, the real question is Weasel colorblind?
I mean, the fact that
we treat him like a dog, it doesn't mean he is a dog, but we treat him like a dog.
I mean, when he thinks back to the little girl, like the colors are there. So I feel like he wouldn't have made like the because they were like, would he just be that naturally protective of just any short hair woman? I feel like the princess having the same hair design, color,
I think it's more of like if she had long hair, then Nina would be safe as hounds. I think
or if it's just a prince, or
Well,
just
that too.
you know,
If it were a guy, she again, Nina alive. These are all like the infinitesimal like realms of the multiverse at play right there.
or Elseworlds since we're in DC.
Yeah, you're right. Elseworld. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a multiverse in DC too, but yeah,
I mean, there is a multiverse in DC.
yeah, the crisis worth of multiverses.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So, but the point being though, I do really take pride. Just like yeah, she's yeah, that was too intentional a choice to be just purely coincidence. But I mean, I like we connected the dots there, and we showed that Weasel has a fondness for the princess and was trying to save her, and he did save her, but yeah, we see there were strings attached to that one. But yeah, so the point being, like Weasel, he wants to save the prince. I love how understand Nina's like petting him like a dog. It's like, oh, because she played fetch with him for like an hour, and they're all like, oh, right, yeah, oh god, that's not good for us right now. And then just the comedy is really good here too. With Dr. Foster's kind of in his own demented, innocent ways. It's like, you want me to put him down? And they both like, no. It's like, okay, it's just an idea.
Yeah.
So Nina has to do the deed. It was complete opposition to who she is as a person, as a character. A lot of people point like, why is she even on this mission? Well, that's the thing. Like, we called this out at the very start, and now we see for a reason we called this out from the start because I think James Gunn foresaw people are going to take umbrage with this. Like, why the heck do we have her here if she's definitely one? She's not a combatant by any stretch of the imagination. But again, it's like Abe Sapien on Hellboy. She's the scientist of the team. Also, maybe get on the moral center of the team, which ultimately I think did help.
Yeah. Also, it might be the case that like with her being a young impressionable woman, she can be easily manipulated, controlled by the likes of Amanda or the bride, or even Amanda could use her as like bait for the bride to like do the dirty work.
There you go. There's that too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's because remember Waller's putting together the team. Rick Flag he's leading the chart at least initially. Yeah, so Amanda Waller did put these guys together. Well, he's Amanda Waller, and technically, I think we saw it in the Suicide Squad movie. Like she did defer to Economos and Jennifer Holland. I keep blanking on Jennifer Holland. Hardcore, Amelia Hardcore. Right, sorry. With Hardcore. So like they did. There was like a planning session because remember John Collins has his whole thing. We had that gag with Weasel and they couldn't swim. It's like did no one check that Weasel couldn't swim and John Collins botched that one. He nodded. He nodded. It looked like he said yes.
Although really, like, how does one know like whether I guess you should like just because you ever see them like in the water doesn't mean they couldn't swim.
Yep.
Maybe like Nina Mazursky could have been there just to give swimming lessons to.
There you go. See the whole thing. Weasel could have. Well, then it probably would have turned it similarly, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I love this. So again, she's being put in this impossible position. She's going to have to do the deed. It hasn't she's never heard a fly, despite being called a frog. Again, that ribbit seems just really mean, by the way. Those boys making her say ribbit like that. And it's the fact that the tears float up into the water. That's the really sad part.
What if they invited her to a party and they came in and say, "Hey, you want to play this fun game?" And it's Frogger.
Okay, well, Frogger's a really fun game, though. I don't think that's necessarily, I mean, it's insulting, but it's like, hey, Nina, we have some common ground here. Why don't you play some Froggers? Like, oh, thank you.
No. She every time she loses, she has to ribbit really loudly.
Okay, well, there you go. Now you've turned it cruel and unusual.
In high school, nothing is unusual. It's all cruelty.
Well, there you go. Anyway, so there's this little subtle bit that goes by like that with Dr. Phosphorus. I want to call out where I could be reading into this for sure, but I don't know. Just given Dr. Phosphorus' story and given what we learned about Nina's story, which again we'll dovetail into in a second here with this. Dr. Phosphorus, like, giving her a vote of confidence, saying, "We believe in you." I forget if he says, "We believe in you, kid," or something. I think if we get her saying "kid" or "kiddo" or something. Whatever he says, just in that moment, though, I think there might be some parallels to her father. Little bit, just a hair of that, and even if it's not just from her to him, it might be from him to her, just in the sense of, Phosphorus. He was a well-intentioned doctor who had a family, and he did lose his kid. And we saw, again, this is not like a whole thing. Now he's redeemed, kind of a thing. But he was playing with like the little girl, like throwing her in the air like he did his son. In his episode, and I don't know, but and we see he has softened to the team a little bit. And he has befriended these guys. Mind you, he's a little cheesed off at Weasel for reasons, for biting them. But aside from that, he's very, he's kind of, he's going, at this point at least, he's growing to like these guys. And I don't know, it just seems like maybe on some level there's a bit of comfort that she takes in just like Dr. Phosphorus, of all people, saying that. In fact, he's a doctor's in the lab coat. It's kind of like I don't know, it's a bit, the way that line came across, it was kind of like a fatherly encouragement that maybe on some level eased her into it, like it would coming from her father. Again, it's a reach, I know. I know it is. But I don't know. What do you think? You think it's completely off base? Do you think there might be anything there?
I mean, I see it, but I don't know if it's like too.
I was saying, plus in the flashbacks, we do focus on the father. I guess that's kind of maybe like the scene that comes after this. It's.
I see the resemblance, but by I think it's just a resemblance.
Okay, look, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Again, I'm not backing that one with a lot as much as I am with the Weasel thing. Okay, I'm just saying. Regardless, I think it was a nice moment with Dr. Phosphorus, though. It was kind of the last moment she's going to have with that guy. And it's like showing that she did befriend all these guys in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but wasn't after that scene, like, he's like, oh, I don't know if I was, can you tell I was being insincere or sincere? It's like,
No. He didn't say he was being insincere. He's like, did it sound like I gave a crap? But I think every time we have those gags of Phosphorus, I think he's genuinely asking. I don't think he's being completely facetious when he's asking like that. And the whole, like, the thing with Alexia, like, oh man, I kind of like that guy. Where it's, I think he does genuinely,
Mm-hmm.
At least that's my real, like, the Phosphorus humor there. At least I think he does. It's like a genuine question.
I mean, I think part of it is just that he's so dysfunctional mentally that, like,
mm-hmm.
he himself doesn't know when he's being, like, genuinely sincere and empathetic to others, or he was just kind of playing them along.
Yeah. Okay, so we have this beautiful edit. I do want to give points to the edit on this episode. This beautiful edit, this montage of Nina at her lowest point in the flashback to the botched assassination attempt. Just that we kind of play this out. We have a nice song choice. It's just, she went into hiding. She was captured, and her father was, father sees this on the news. He runs, he runs to his daughter, who's clearly, she's vulnerable. She's being paraded around and being captured, and he wants to. Again, I think it's just the thing, like, he wants to. I think he's missed his daughter, and I think it's just seeing that, and then there's like the fear and dread for a situation, and he just needs to be there for, make sure that if she is going to be captured before. I think his plan ultimately was, I'm going to be there. I'm going to say my piece. I'm going to follow the situation. Hopefully, get her out of, like, like the problem that she's found herself in. Being captured, wherever facility she's going to. I think he might have showed some credentials, or he might have done something.
Mm-hmm.
To advocate for. I think that's what his plan was when he went down there. So the point being, he sees his daughter again. It's like the parental kind of protector kind of comes in there. He's like tossing a cop around who, again, like, they don't understand that that's my daughter, because you look, wait, are you nuts? That's your daughter? What are you, like? You're not a fish guy. That's Aquaman. Aquaman could be the girl's daughter. He could be the girl's father. But yeah, it's just this moment of, again, the man was very clearly unarmed. Yes, he shoved the cop, but again, he's going to the monster, just saying, like, some nice things to her. And they shot him. James Gunn very much with an agenda here, just saying, you know what? sometimes cops suck, and these are two very prominent examples of it.
And this is in Star City, so Green Arrow, if he's out there, hopefully some justice was done for Mr. Mazursky or Dr. Mazursky. Although, what would be the messed up part about all that? It's like maybe like there might be some initial like brouhaha over Professor Mazursky getting killed, but then when it's revealed about the daughter and all that, it gets spun around to where he's actually like an abusive monster that like forced his daughter to become like a amphibious creature.
See, that's the tragedy of it. That probably did happen though. If they did like do some digging, like man, he wasn't really off base with the whole daughter thing. Like, what is that? Oh my god! They're interviewing the mother, who's basically confirming this, which then. Well, wait, I don't think like confirming malicious. Like this thing, like kind of sadly, yes, that happened. Like, don't bother me with this anymore. I want to leave in the past behind, kind of a thing. And there's she's not going to provide.
And then there's the fake like, and then there's the fakes like, oh, we were so sad for Nina, and it's all the people that bullied her relentlessly.
Exactly. So in that respect, or that's probably as far as the mother knows about what's going on. I'm sure, like after Dr. Mazursky dies, I have a feeling that. I mean, she went to live with her mother though, so I don't know if she'd be in the city or not. But I don't know. It sounds like through the grapevine, she would have been informed that her. Well, then again, if they divorced, I don't know. The point being, maybe she may or may not have.
I wouldn't be surprised if when she left and there's some formal like. I mean, there isn't for certain divorces. You can't. I mean. You get out the option of terminating your parental rights, which I think was probably likely to have happened. Because
either way, I think there's going to be some follow up. So they probably would have more so interrogated her than like informed her of the passing. So maybe that's what it was. So maybe that's how like she learned what happened. Then you're right. Everyone's like making it about like, oh yeah, it was a sad case for sure. She was our good friend. Yeah, we joshed with her. We made we called her frog, but in an endearing way.
Or it's like we never expected her to just turn wild, and it's like, well, like it's like it just came out of nowhere that she just decided to abandon school and become a monster, quote unquote.
Which again, just people are just awful. Yeah. Anyway, so again, the death of her father is just utterly heartbreaking, and poor Nina, like in the fish tank. Literally, we put her in a fish tank.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible. So anyway, so we kind of parallel this to then we have our cool Creature from the Black Lagoon homage where she's like right under her, but she's contemplative, like, oh god, I don't know if I can do this, but it's to save the world. Which again, doing it for a very good intention though. She's not doing this like just because like in order. She's doing this because this is to save everyone. Which again, championing humanity, despite humanity, treating her like garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So again, thanks to Weasel's, unfortunately. Thanks to Weasel's humanity. That's the thing. So we have kindness on two fronts here. Thanks to Nina's kindness, she's unfit to do the test. And thanks to Weasel's kindness, Nina's a goner.
Yeah, Weasel's humanity is really what kills a lot of people. I mean, those kids, and he just went about his merry way.
Yeah.
Those kids would have been just playing around.
Yep. Moral of the story: don't play with children. Just say, go away. You're gonna die in an explosion. Go play with the other kids. Don't loop anyone in.
I don't know. If that's the moral from the Weasel flashback.
Yeah,
that's probably a lesson from the Mad Hatter.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Especially children named Alice.
But I don't understand. It's such a nice name. It was the tea party. There were a few hats.
Tea party's over, Mad Hatter.
Yeah. Did you ever see Batman Dying is Easy?
No, I don't think so.
Excellent fan film done by the Bat and the Sun guys. Wonderful fan film. And
yes, the one with the Joker and like he knew that these like 3 individuals were already dead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Oh yeah. So did you remember the Mad Hatter section at the top? As I'm saying, the Mad Hatter. So Jamie Costa. Well, you know Jamie Costa, right?
He's the guy that does the voice expressions specifically of like Harrison Ford and whatnot.
Yeah, and Robin Williams, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
So he was in. He played the Mad Hatter in that, and there was this amazing Mad. The opening of that. Here's the thing: they did. It was a stretch goal, so they made more of their. They made over what they asked for, and they were able to add in this Mad Hatter sequence. And essentially, it's a really cool. It's a really cool action set piece. But at the end of it, it's like Batman sees like this poor young Alice, and he's the Mad Hatter's like delusional and really just a piece of filth here. Just like basically he's done horribly. He's presumably done horrible things to Alice. And Batman, he's had it through here, so he doesn't kill the Mad Hatter, but he does something really mean. He does something really brutal to him. He basically practically curb stomps his crotch. Like what that's just like to make sure you never do this again. Like bam, bam, just oh god. However, to soften things from that imagery, though, there's this really beautiful bit that right after that, like the girl is like cowering and just hugging Batman as he's comforting her after he saved her. It's a wonderful Batman moment there.
Yep.
Just completely lost you with all that, didn't I?
No. I mean, it. I vaguely remember that sequence from that movie. So
it's worth looking. The point's a really good short. Rewatch it.
I think it was an okay short.
Really, you didn't? Okay.
I think not many fan films are that good. Especially
it takes a lot to impress you as far as the fan films go. I take it.
I mean, they're not bad, but like, there's a reason why you can tell when something's a quote unquote fan film versus something that's like a more professional production. You always appreciate the passion. You always, like, but there's a reason why there's like it's really hard to break into Hollywood, do well screenwriter directors, and the difference is there. That's not to say I don't appreciate anyone putting their hard-earned money and effort to making such fan films, fashion projects. Oh, that's all, yada. But that's neither here nor there.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So Nina, this shockingly, I remember it was a very shocking moment. Nina gets killed, just gets stabbed by the princess, and the fact that we kind of liked the princess up to this point before the turn, it's like, oh no, and it's like you kind of knew you kind of knew something bad was going to happen, but it's a question if it's going to be her, and is it going to be international incident again? You think, I honestly the way I thought it was going to go, I promise you, is that I thought Nina was going to get into a fight of survival with the princess, and she was not going to kill the princess, but like scratch her face up, which would explain the scar she had in Cersei's vision. That's what I thought might have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, what I thought was going to happen before Nina was tasked with it, I thought Weasel was going to charge in there and try and basically there's going to be a thing where Weasel intercepted and him accidentally scratched her face, and then of course when Weasel was when Nina was tasked with, then I thought maybe that's where we're going. And anyway, that was my thought process in terms of what was I saying. I was really shocked when Nina actually did get killed,
mm-hmm.
And of course my heart was broken. No, not Nina. We just saw her sad backstory. No.
That was probably the sign. I was like, oh, she's done.
Yeah, but to be fair, they all had sad backstories, so
yeah, but
they all could have been killed. That's the whole.
Yeah, but this is the final episode, so you want to end it with a bang or like a major moment.
Yeah, well, again, the moment Weasel he charged out of there, for a moment I wondered was he going to get it? My prediction for the episode was that Weasel was going to be overjoyed to see the princess, and he was going to get killed. That oh, someone's coming after her, bam.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that was my prediction for who was going to die in this episode. I really thought I would have bet all King Midas' silver. That's probably what was going to. At least he was going to die, if not in addition to somebody. If there's only going to be one death, Weasel was the goner. But
mm-hmm.
No, so it was a big subversion on my part there. Like, wow, I did not see this coming. Anyway, so she gets so Nina gets killed by Alana. It's and ultimately for no reason, since the order was canceled anyway. And it's a very sad, pointless tragedy.
Yeah, and there's no one really to mourn her deeply outside the bride.
Yeah. Weasel doesn't know what's going on. He barely knows what's going on. Phosphorus. I think maybe this. I think there's a little. There's maybe a hint of pity with Phosphorus. Well, you know what? Scratch that. Phosphorus does feel a little bad, like later on when he's over what happened with her, because he's really cheesed off at Weasel, and I think in part because Nina got killed. I think like Weasel's a lot of it's petty jealousy, mind you, but still, it does feel like. So he's Weasel is. I love that Weasel's getting like the star treatment because they say he saved the princess, and all the guards like, we're going to build a statue, like a monument in your honor, and all that. Which is it's a nice to see Weasel get a win. Then we pan over to the reality, which is like Foster saying. So he gets the star treatment, and the fish girl gets killed. I think he's as a guy who's been a victim of injustice in his inception, though, that I think that really does rock him to his core. And I think he does feel genuine sympathy to Nina, at least in his moments of lucidity, beyond just kind of sardonic madness.
Well, also because he would think about it, like of the team, Nina and Phosphorus are the only ones that were originally human and were just turned into monsters, with not by their own will, like early in their lives.
Oh, you got a point there.
Yeah. So in his mind, it's like, yeah, he's a monster, but he wasn't born or grew up as a monster. Like if he hadn't been in that atomic incinerator, he would just been like he would have just probably been framed and likely gone in jail for the deaths of his wife and son. Yeah. And then Nina, assuming if those machines worked, she probably wouldn't have been she would have been confined to like a medical center or probably died at a very early age.
Yep. But ultimately, though, with Nina, the bittersweet thing with Nina's story is that, well, it's very sad that she died. She did I think, like, the point is, like, through the Commandos, she did make friends ultimately. Unconventionally, but, a GI robot, nice friend that she had.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. If Nina hadn't died, would the bride have gone through with killing the princess?
I don't. Let's see. You mean? Well, are you asking like, would she figure it out, or would she have just like not like killed her?
Well, she already figured it out with the whole Clayface footage being the footage thing. I'm just saying, like, would she cared enough to like carry it on with like the? I guess she probably would have. I think.
Well, do you mean would she just reported it to Waller and not killed her, or do you think she like what do you think?
No, because the thing is, it's like, like Amanda tells her, hey, it's not the princess. The princess is not the one's causing it, and if she's aware of the footage or whatever, it's like that's the kind of thing where like we don't have like a scene or anything where like Amanda Waller is aware of like what happened. Like, that's the thing that what I wish was a little bit more petered out or played out more was like what's the ramifications of like the bride specifically killing the princess without a direct order from Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller has to be a little bit like, you didn't think to just tell me or let me. You told me after the fact.
Well, I mean, you gotta remember though, it would have been ridiculous. The way Waller operates so often is like, okay, so we report back to Waller, we gotta go all the way back. It's like, and I want you to go back to Vakolistan and kill the princess, and we're going all the way back to Vakolistan.
No, she could have just like tell her on she could have just tell her like or the radio or send her something. It's I guess like with the logistics. I mean, ultimately she wasn't the right. I think just the way that scene played out, like it may not have been as personal for the bride. She probably would have just shot in the heart and that's it. But the way like she went about it, just like the headshot, it was very much personal on her part.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Clayface reveal in itself is with that mystery reveal. So again, I somewhat called this somewhat. I hear. Well, look, I'm not going to say it's like a big like revelation. It's kind of like, but I swear to you, Rohith. I don't know if you were on the podcast in which I pointed this out. I think this may be an episode or two back. Whenever we had the episode 5, I guess, because that's when we did the Rick Flag and Eric Frankenstein find out Clayface was involved, right? And I think it was 5. I think, yeah. Anyway, I was convinced because like the dots didn't connect to me. That it felt like Clayface, like Clayface had to be hired by somebody, and even so, it was a question of like Cersei. When we saw her the whole like the clairvoyancy thing when she looked into the future, like she was crying when she saw that, and like what advantage would Cersei have for like basically confirming confirming what was just seen.
Mhm.
The point being something didn't add up. I don't know if I'm explaining it great, but something didn't add up, and it just felt like to what end would we have like manufactured this whole thing, and it just felt like this really is of no gain to Cersei because it's basically just it really felt like I was convinced that we were going to reveal that okay, the Cersei's vision was real, but it's a question of like how does Clayface play into it? Like that was the big mystery to me. Okay, so I believe Cersei's vision is real. That's too specific and too big to be just completely made up, and it just feels like that actually has to happen. But why? But why make it seem that is not the case? So with the reveal, I thought it made good sense the way we played out here. The idea that it was like so Clayface was Plan B. The idea was that Alana hoped the Commandos would kill Cersei first. Hope that when they had Cersei, okay, the Commandos are coming to protect me. Cersei will show up, and they'll kill Cersei, and my problem is gone.
Mm.
Clayface was Plan B. Okay, so they've arrested Cersei. They're going to interrogate her. So I'm going to call my friend Clayface, who again admitted. See, to me, that's a hanging chat of like, why does she? That's like we're probably not going to explore in season 2. How does she know Clayface?
Well, it could be whatever version of Clayface there is. You know how like
If it's the Matt Hagen treasure hunter version, that would explain why he's in Pakistan.
well, it could be just the case that it's just a random person, OC or whichever person who's been Clayface in the comics, and was just operating as a mercenary through the dark web. Right, like plenty of like hired criminals or assassins are done through the dark web. So
Yeah,
it could be just something that she or whoever like accessed.
sure.
And this is a world of metahumans, so it probably isn't too out of the realm possibility for metahumans, whether heroes or even villainous figures, to
Do you think
lean into.
Clayface is dead?
He looked pretty dead to
That's
me.
the thing. He looks pretty. It just feels like a weird way to kill Clayface, but
By being like severely electrocuted.
yeah.
Isn't electricity like a weakness for him? I remember like at least
Well, in the animated series, they kind of went back and forth here. It's an inconsistency in the animated series. Where in Feet of Clay, the ending was he seemingly died of electricity, but Batman in the Batcave, like he tested like the electroshock, a little bit of the residual clay to demonstrate to Alfred like electricity has no effect on. He faked his death.
Mhm.
However, in Holiday Nights, we electrocute Clayface to take him down. So play a little fast and loose with that between those two series. But again, that
So,
was like
so in the
I think
DCU,
that's more of a New Adventures thing, though. I don't know, but
yeah.
at the very least, I think electricity stuns him, but it doesn't really hurt him.
So in the DCU, like electricity is fatal to
It
Clayface,
would appear so, yeah. So it would appear that we're kind of
which
airing more on New
which
Batman Adventures.
which Clayface, whoever's out there, they should stay far away from Static, Black Lightning, and Livewire,
Yeah.
and any of the Shazam characters.
Do you think how conductive do you think actual clay is?
Oh, I could look it up on a Google.
Okay. Anyway, so point being this whole conspiracy with Clayface being Plan B and the conspiracy of of just have them question Cersei's true vision with this. The whole thing of like have like the fake McPherson discovered the whole like that I thought was really clever. The way of like okay, so it does play out how you think it was, but again that was part of the grand design. Just to make them question themselves with the whole McPherson thing. So McPherson was absolutely right in confirming it, but now I have to throw doubt on what McPherson said. So how do we throw doubt on him? Clayface will impersonate McPherson, make it look like it's part of a con of some kind.
So according to Google, clay is considered a poor conductor of electricity when dry, but becomes significantly more conductive when wet.
No wonder they went about it both ways. It's kind of funny. You know what's funny about that?
What?
Okay, so back in the animated series, Clayface very much designed. Again, this is the reason they kind of changed it up in the new Batman Adventures. very TMS friendly design, in terms of like this guy, he's going to be melty. He's got a really intricate kind of melty design, which is why you did not see a lot of Clayface. And when you did, it was a real pain to animate because between that and especially Mudslide is really he's a pain to animate because of like all the dripping, essentially looks like throw up. Mm-hmm. But, in a really interesting way. On the flip side, New Batman Adventures, though, they kind of went for more of like a hardened clay. And again, that's the Clayface that is susceptible to electricity. I don't know.
So there you have it.
Yeah. So anyway, point being, I thought the Clayface twist was, I thought it made a lot of sense. I thought it was kind of clever on James Gunn's part. The whole it's just question the truth essentially. It was a descent plan. I thought it was cool. I don't know. So the bride,
because the thing, I think the issue that one has with the plan is like. You have to the princess has to assume that Rick Flag would just naturally trust the princess, and
well, again, she seduced him though. That was part of her plan.
Yeah, she seduced him, but she has to also assume that he's gonna go AWOL and then try to reach out to McPherson and get further confirmation or evidence, even though she was there for it's like he could have asked her Rick Flag could have asked her questions, could have interrogated that's the thing. It's
well, she had a spy there. Remember, the spy was keeping tabs on what was going on. That's how she knew.
The spy was no. So the spy was aware, and then had Clayface just conveniently already at McPherson's place by the time Rick Flag was there.
Well, here's the thing. I don't remember when the footage that we had Clayface on there, with the princess, was dated for. That's a thing. I don't know. My assumption is that Cersei gets taken, Clayface is called up. So while Cersei's in transit, Clayface is there and he's assigned, and then we kind of haul him over there. And I guess it's a question of how long Cersei's in interrogation for. Yeah, that's basically Clayface's window to get back and then assume McPherson. Yeah, basically right after.
Because Clayface has to be there or take over from McPherson sometime after McPherson does her.
Well, yeah, but they know he's going to shapeshift into somebody. They don't know who until the spy reports in who showed up. So that's what I'm saying. So Clayface is there, but they don't know who he's going to turn into until the blonde guard, until Sergei, reports in.
Clayface is already
I'm saying Clayface. It's a question of how soon can we get the travel time. Let's bear it again. It's it's a comic book. We can really have really fast planes. So let's not not factoring that part in.
Okay.
It's just the fact that so Cersei's taken back. Call up Clayface. We're going to get you on a plane. We're going to send you back there, and then Sergei's going to tell you who you're shapeshifting into. And it's so once Cersei is back, Clayface, again, I guess hopefully a fast interval is there, maybe a day of or maybe 2 days from now, however long. They lucked out on that one. Again, the travel time is the only, it's the wild card there. But basically, Sergei's telling, is reporting, so they called up McPherson. You're going to we've done some research on McPherson. Here's who you need to make look really incompetent. And also killer.
Yeah, I think it would have just been simpler, details wise, to have Clayface already just been observing the commandos, rather than having a Piccolo stand guard and then reporting. You could have just had Clayface be trained. Honestly, it would have been cool if Clayface just turned into one of the guards. Or just a regular human that looked like one of the guards.
Well, essentially, you could read it like that because we don't say that it could just be Clayface as Sergei technically. It just feels weird that of all the people Clayface could turn into, why would he turn into Sergei?
Or just any random nobody.
Yeah, I was saying he could have been a random nobody instead. We saw Sergei there, but I mean, in theory, you could just say, okay, well, transfer him to Sergei if you want to make it work. But yeah, fair point.
But yeah, I just think it's the twist. I feel I'll have to rewatch the whole season, and I feel the twist can turn out better because then because it just feels not a lot of time passes from the first episode to the 7th episode.
Yeah.
So the plan working the way it does, it's like you have like a really tight windows of time, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If it was maybe the course of like 2 or 3 months, then like I can buy, this plan happening the way it does. But that's neither here nor there. I think for me, with where the show ends off, I'd be very interested to see if we can. I don't know if you want to get into sort of season 2 speculation or whatnot.
Well, okay, just real quick to round things out. So again, the bride. I do love our episode title there in terms of like the princess says you're a very funny monster, and that's kind of what's in a sense that's kind of what seals her fate. There's her that she plays her hand. There's trying to be all sunshine and rainbows, and then the bride calls her out on it, and shoots her plumb in. Oh, the tension there too. He's like the gun on the desk drawer and everything. And so we kill the princess. We walk out of there into the sunset, and then the bride is now leading a new team. She's the Creature Commandos are kind of getting rewarded with like their own wing. They're kind of more of a valuable asset, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a new lineup. So we got, I guess this bleeds into the season 2 stuff. So we have the bride. Phosphorus is still around, Weasel's still around, presumably, but they might not necessarily be on the team, but they could be. But beyond that, we have 4 new members. So we got Nosferatu, who's basically kind of a vampire looking commando.
Mm-hmm.
Khalees.
I think Khalees sounds.
Khalees sounds more right. I don't know. I was just kind of going off phonetically on that one, but Khalees. So King Shark's in the fray because again, not human, so he counts.
Yeah.
Oh, Nina counted. King Shark definitely counts.
Yeah. And then a souped up GI robot.
James Gunn just can't help himself. We have like formerly skinny characters, and then we bulk them up. Every time after we've seemingly killed them off.
Wait, who was the other example of that?
Groot.
Oh well.
Think about it. Seriously, think about it. We killed Groot, and we brought him back, and eventually, we swelled him up, we buffed him up, and then,
So what you're saying is that if James Gunn did ever a movie on the resurrection of Christ, Jesus after 3 days is going to be like shredded to gills.
I guess that's what
he's going to be played by Alan Richardson.
Yeah. That's the James Gunn version of Christ, my friend.
No, he's going to be played by The Rock.
Well, no, come on, don't.
Skin tone wise, he's more historically accurate.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to give The Rock Christ.
Do you smell what our Lord and Savior is cooking?
The Rock's ego is massive enough. You don't want that guy playing this, the Savior or whatever. You don't want him playing that.
Do you think The Rock, if just to promote this movie, would have a brand where you could turn water into literal wine or wine to water?
Well, we know he would turn water into, but I don't think it'd be wine. But yeah.
Oh man! Since the thing is, would he actually? He couldn't do it. You know why? Because it's in his contract to lose, and Jesus part of the whole thing of Christianity is that he loses, but ascenses.
Oh, that's another. Here's the difference. Okay, here's the loophole. Okay, gets 2 different actors. You have like you have I don't know, Andrew Scott or somebody playing.
Andrew Scott is playing Jesus. You're going for someone the same skin tone as The Rock. You're just going for The Rock.
He's to be polar opposite. He's to be polar opposite. Just for the loophole to work. Okay.
No. You should have the other. You should have it. I guess no. Have Andrew Scott play the Jesus Christ get crucified.
Yeah.
And the Roman soldier is Vin Diesel. That's why The Rock didn't play the.
I don't know. Vin Diesel's out of shape these days. I don't think you want him as the swole. As the
Vin Diesel could get into Hollywood shape, but actors can vary body size to body size. Not everyone has to be constantly in shape.
Well, also, we don't want to torture the poor guy. Maybe he just wants to be chubby. Let him be chubby.
Is Vin Diesel actually gained significant weight?
Well, seriously, if you saw at the Globes, he looked a little out of shape. he definitely didn't look like the traditional. Like when you think of Vin Diesel, he didn't look like like the jacked like movie Vin Diesel. He looked very much like man.
Oh, he's a little like.
What I'm saying is like he's not in like the he's not like the movie shape. He's just kind of like in the in between project shape, which is like I don't want to put him through that. Why do I have to keep putting poor actors through that? They have to keep
Because they must look like Greek gods.
That's what I'm saying. They have to keep Jake LaMotta themselves,
I mean, he doesn't look like out of shape. I think he just looks like he does look like he could just be a regular dude.
Yeah,
which is not bad, but don't worry.
For a whole, you're ruining our stupid fake Christ movie, Rohit. He needs to be cut.
Can Kevin Hart play Judas?
Well, what other roles does he play?
Have one of the apostles played by your favorite actor, Ben Schwartz.
Okay, that's not funny.
No, have Bryan Cranston play.
See, that's my Christ of choice. Actually, I would go with Bryan Cranston.
No, have Bryan Cranston be played by Aaron Paul, and it's like, yeah, the divine, like virgin birth, bitch.
All right, see now everyone with the religious point is going to turn this podcast off. Thanks to you, Rohit. So thanks.
All 5 of them.
Yeah, all 5 of them. We lost 5 people.
Oh man,
we lost 5 people and 7 Mormons. Thanks to you.
They don't count.
Anyway, point being, GI Robot is in shape now.
He's on the Hugh Jackman diet.
There you go. He's just eating. Well, I was gonna say a bunch of chickens, but it's diesel fuel, so he's he's juicing on the diesel.
Vin Diesel. Hey.
Anyway.
Maybe that's where all Vin Diesel's muscles. They went into a GI Robot.
It would really be funny if they actually did get Vin Diesel to play GI Robot.
No, Vin Diesel will be playing Brainiac.
Anyway, so Frankenstein's alive. He's not deterred at all. He's still head over heels for the bride, and he's eating crap while he says that. So I think that kind of sums up Derek Frankenstein's
Yep,
his progression. But I like that it's like he did. It's like an inch forward though. He's like he's. I'd like to think he's not going to kill this old lady who made him the soup.
Well, he might kill her for making such said soup.
Well, I don't. That's the thing. Think about it though. He hasn't been killing people that have been serving his needs. Since befriending Rick Flag. He didn't kill the pilot. He didn't kill the cab driver. Well, we assume he didn't kill it. I thought we saw the cab driver drive away. He's fine.
Yeah, but he killed the passengers of the private jet.
Yes, but not the pilot. That's what I'm saying. It's incremental progress.
He could have just let's say, hey, if you don't do this, I will kill you, and then just let the passengers just be scared for their lives as they're flying to Colossal.
See, this is what I'm getting at, though. When we first saw him on the helicopter, he killed everyone on the helicopter. He's like, man, it's not really right. He paid those guys to do a job, and he just killed them off. I think he doesn't have to pay him anymore now. That's not right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Eric Frankenstein should just go back to his yacht with all those ladies on there.
That's what I'm saying. Did he kill the ladies? I hope not.
You see, that's my question. Is like, does he even?
I think that's his arc. I think that's his arc. He's been killing less people as been going on because he's trying to. In his demented way, he's trying to earn the bride's trust back.
He'll go all the way to like Batman level, incapacitating them but not killing them. Arkham Batman is where he ends up.
Okay. All right, anyway, so I don't really know if there's much we can really speculate on with season 2. I think it's just going to be a new lineup of monsters with a new mission. So,
how many of the episodes are going to be flashback episodes? I think it's going to be opposite.
Well, that depends on. Well, that's the thing. My instinct is that our new monsters would get flashbacks, and we might have new characters. But by the same token, though, there's a question: would James Gunn avoid formula on season 2?
Well, So long as it's like spread out, right? So if it's like maybe 8 or 9 episodes, you could have like one flashback episode every 2 to 3 episodes. Because you have the 3 new people, and if so long as the other characters don't have flashback stories of their own, then yeah.
Yep.
Although I'm kind of curious for like, I can imagine like
King Shark's background would be interesting because sometimes Amanda Waller raises him, so that would be kind of interesting.
I would imagine for Nosferatu and Khalees the Living Mummy, they would probably have origin flashbacks, whereas for Nonway King Shark, I think it could be likely like the Weasel episode where it doesn't show the origin of how he becomes Weasel, but just like something like where maybe he's blamed for something, but he didn't actually do it. But I don't know. Well, here's something I don't know if you know.
We didn't. Given that we didn't get Stallone, it does feel like we might actually, like give him like some dialogue or to see kind of what happened to him. So I don't know. King Shark might be. I don't know. I don't. You're right. Could go the Weasel Rat, but it could actually go because he does have an interesting backstory.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know this dragon, Khalees the Living Mummy in the comics was actually a character that brought back Nina Mazursky when she had died in some form or fashion in the comics, and then was able to have her be able to breathe like on land.
I did not know that at all. That's really interesting. Do you think we're going to bring her back?
Probably not.
Oh, well, why?
I mean, I feel like it would cheapen the death that was really poignant.
Well, why not? You text James Gunn right now. Ask him why.
No.
I mean, in this show.
I think if you were to do that, I feel like there has to be consequences for her coming back from the dead, right?
Right.
I feel like if she came back and she had a personality change or difference, where maybe
we could see maybe in parallel to the Bride a little bit there.
Yeah, maybe she becomes more like the Bride, and the Bride becomes more human, and then the Bride maybe needs to put down Nina Mazursky at the end of season 2.
Okay.
James Gunn, make it a tragedy for Nina to come back from the dead, and the Bride becomes human, and the Bride is more like how Nina was in season 1, and then have her do a mercy killing of Nina Mazursky.
You might want to find kind of a shorter way to put that, but yes.
I can text all of that to James Gunn. He's a fast reader. He's a fast writer.
Well, yeah, but also like you want to have it like sound good too.
I mean, I can make that work in text. And then I'll add in, hey, make sure to cast Ben Schwartz as Plastic Man.
No, don't.
All right, sorry. It's cast James Gordon as Goo number 5.
Anyway. Okay, I think we're done here. So,
so overall, Dragon, in light of this being quote unquote the first entry in the DCU, how do you feel overall as it being the first entry into the DCU, even though it's quote unquote the appetizer for the main entree that's Superman?
Well, again, I think it is. I think it's a good foray into things. I think it's a good choice to kind of use it as like kind of the connecting bridge between the two things. Superman kind of being the big proper, kind of starting place. Because again, this is kind of transitioning us between stuff James Gunn was doing to kind of what he's going to be doing, and kind of essentially Rick Flag, and in essence being kind of like the through line. I guess you could look at it that way. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this show. I love everything about it. I think it's a lot better than some of the other, kind of animated stuff I'm doing on, on Max with DC. Like, Harley Quinn kind of fell off, and this is kind of a far better, kind of replacement for that kind of thing. Where like they're still making Harley Quinn. We know it's going to have like the trailer for the next season, they're in Metropolis and everything, where it's just dropped off a cliff. And we keep putting the Harley Quinn tail in these other shows, and they've been better, like this one.
Yeah, it just feels like, as an aside, Harley Quinn has kind of gone the way of like well-known animated shows like The Simpsons, Family Guy, where like their best days are gone, and they're just going off sort of the memorability of the character and the IP rather than like, oh, there's actually good stories that are being told with the character past like a certain amount of seasons.
Oh yeah,
yeah. If Harley Quinn just goes like past season 5, 6, like. Honestly, if it went to 10 seasons, I'd be surprised. It's just like the show's popular enough. I mean, he had a spin-off show like after the third.
Well, that is a question though. With James Gunn kind of doing the things he's doing now, like, is this the last? Because this was really probably in the works before. James Gunn kind of took the reins, and
I
we've
mean,
already shown like we've curved off a lot of the other animated like projects. Like, again, we ended like the Tomorrowverse. So he's.
I mean, was that through the influence of DC and James Gunn, or was that
Well, essentially, here's the thing: there were supposed to be more movies, but they had to trim it. They had to kind of rush into Crisis because the plan was to do more. The way I heard it, Crisis was always the plan for the finale, but you get a sense there might have been more things to they kind of do in building there, but they had to kind of trim it to the bare essentials. That's the way I heard it.
Okay.
For how the Tomorrowverse went, and I'm saying connecting the dots would be why rush it. Well, James Gunn kind of
Well, I mean, the show's
having a plan for the animated stuff like Creature
Well-
Commandos
well-
and probably like some other stuff. So.
The thing is, Harley Quinn is like it's a really successful adult animated show, and those are pretty cheap to produce and make. And I feel like if the viewership still remains consistent-ish, like it can last many seasons. So I don't feel like James Gunn will necessarily want to like cut that down because if it's doing good enough numbers to
Plus, he appeared in the show, so I think there might be some favoritism there.
Yeah, like if the show ends, it's like the show's gonna end because whoever, like the people at Max are
they're gonna have to admit they're out of ideas. That's the only way.
Well, no. The only way that the show would end is like if Max feels that the show isn't like getting the numbers that did in prior seasons, or maybe in some case like maybe the main crew like ask for higher contracts or whatever, and it's like, well, this is getting too expensive.
Or Zaslav says, "I'm buying a new car. Let's lay off another show." It's possible. It's exactly what happens every time. This is Rohith. Let me tell you real quick. Okay, story real quick.
Okay.
So Jacob and I. So I recently, just on a whim, I promise, like on a whim, I was binging through Ed, Edd n Eddy, okay, on HBO Max, because it was there, and I found out like the DVD series, like if you buy it on DVD, it's the same situation where they cut out the movie and the holiday special. Essentially, it's the same effect if you were to watch it on Max you would if you bought the set. So I think, okay, fine, I'm gonna binge through it. So I finished binging through it. I kind of casually mentioned this to Jacob, and then like a day or so, like very short amount of time afterwards, I just mentioned to him, oh yeah, I finished binging it, and it's just like, it's on Max. He checks it out. It's like, the question being, is it still on Max? Well, last time when I finished it up, it wasn't. Maybe like a week later, maybe. So Jacob looks into it. He just tells me like on air, like I looked, it's not there. It's just like that's what I'm saying. It's like every time, like We Bare Bears, the same thing. I finished binging We Bare Bears. Week later, I recommended to people. Week later, gone. Zaslav buys something. Ed, Edd n Eddy. Zaslav, he's bought a boat.
No. Well, it's like, are they just permanently off the streaming service, or are they just kind of out of circulation for?
I'm pretty sure gone.
Okay. Well, there's still
wholesaling. Everything's been going off Cartoon Network, and like it's.
I mean, you can still get the shows through physical media. You just can't.
Well, not all of them though. That's what I'm saying. Like Ed, Edd n Eddy, yes. Codename Kids Next Door, not so lucky. We Bare Bears, technically no. I mean, look, you could find it, but it's like a whole region.
Okay.
They haven't done a full series release for We Bare Bears. But
I can understand if you take animated shows off of streaming services. I can understand if people are still able to get them through physical media or iTunes or whatever. If that's not the case, that is really crappy. But in light of the whole Discovery, Warner Brothers acquisition, there's a lot of debt that has to be paid off. And so, I mean, animation is kind of one of the first areas where you can make a lot of cuts. So, and I assume probably it's because the royalties are, I think like, here's the thing. It's like, as much as animation has improved in standing among audiences in the States, in the past 20, 25 years. Animated shows, I feel like don't get the numbers that say live action shows or even unscripted television does. So because of that, like the royalty payments you're making, it's like the viewership doesn't match with whatever probably the royalty payments are, and so the numbers kind of add up to probably where if you just take out a lot of animated shows from streaming, like you have enough money to make profit or pay down debts. So, which sucks. Like for people who are banning those animated shows, like I totally with you on that, but that's sort of the byproduct of corporate mergers. So, yeah, I'd be very interested to see like how long it takes for them to finish out all that debt. But hopefully, with James Gunn being, the head of DC Studios with Creature Commandos, where animated shows come out through there, that they have the chance to last as many seasons as they need to, and hopefully, other animated shows outside the DC umbrella can have that same level of fortune success.
Well said, Counselor. All right, folks. I think that about does it. Okay, so Creature Commandos, pretty good first season overall. I really liked it. Rohith seems to have enjoyed it. More than he has not enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's a good first start. Good first steps to the DCU. Of course, everything is going to ride on streaming because that movie doesn't do well, and everyone's rooting against it. At least most of the internet's rooting against it. If that one doesn't perform, we could be in trouble. But we'll see what happens.
No. If that doesn't perform well, then it's Batman for 1,000 years.
Anyway,
it's true.
Okay. Anyway, so that'll do it. Hope folks enjoyed our lengthy conversation on it, and we'll see you at the next one. We'll see you at the next recap and or recap series. At the very least, we'll see you at Phineas and Ferb. So see ya.
R.I.P. Nina Mazursky.
Poor little fish girl.
Ribbit.